Welcome back to another episode of the Jacksonville Buzz. I'm Steve Strum. As always, next to me, can't do without him, the triumphant Colonel Chris Budihas.
I need to have a crest for that.
Like a pin. Like you should have like an extra thing, on a little piece of regalia for your military uniform. I think you should.
Crown.
A giant
crown. Wow.
With a T in it. But we're not here to talk about you being triumphant.
No,
we're here to talk about this lady. Who do we got with us today?
We got Michelle Page
and
with Revenue Chasers.
And Revenue Chasers.
Who doesn't like revenue?
Not just to chase it,
I know.
but maybe to receive it. What's Revenue Chasers? Tell us what's this all about.
Well, Revenue Chasers is a consultancy, advisory, coaching firm for business-to-business, small, medium businesses, whether it's launching a second stage startup, scaling company, and one that is looking at the entire ecosystem of revenue.
Yeah.
So it's not just looking for sales, not just looking to focus on one area, but any part of the company that impacts revenue.
Yeah.
And they want to grow that.
Wow, that's and you've been doing it for a little bit. A couple years?
I have.
A couple years, 20 plus years.
Actually, I started in sales 30 plus years ago, but consulting I've been doing 20 plus years. Yeah.
So you started when you were born?
In the womb.
Yep, because I'm 29 for 18 years now. So unfortunately, people aren't believing it. So let's tell. One of the things that we were talking about offset, we were talking about, just in this environment, right? For folks that we have on the show, for obviously your organization, the bottom line, those margins are getting thinner and thinner and thinner. Yep. Mm-hmm. Whether it's cost going up, competition in the marketplace, there's all kinds of stuff that's happening. You were talking a little bit about, which I think is super relevant in today's environment, in any environment really, taking a cost center and becoming a revenue center or a profit center.
Absolutely.
Tell us a little bit about, because people hear that. I mean, I have overhead, Chris has overhead outside of this, we're business owners as well. Yep. I'm always working about bottom line. What do you do? Like, how does that work? It's magic.
Well, every organization has functions that they need to be done.
Yeah.
They need, obviously, someone to build or provide their product or service. They need some sort of operations. They need someone handling their finances. They need someone to look for customers, demand generation. They need lead generation. They need salespeople. They need customer service people. They need those functions done, but they don't need to make them all a cost center.
Right.
They can make them all a revenue center. So, for example, operations. Think about the technology that you need to make all of this run smoothly. Mm-hmm. Sales, marketing, customer success. You need a database. You need a CRM. That's one of the first pieces of technology that you need. You don't need a Rolls Royce when you just got your driver's license.
Right.
So don't spend top dollar to get that. Get something that's right size for your business. So when you start customizing, you start earning income, it's going to be a better margin for you. When you have the customer service, don't think of it as customer service, think of it as customer success. Are you making those customers raving fans? Are you uncovering new opportunities with them? Are you upselling, cross-selling, getting referrals? Don't just service them. Don't just pick up the phone and take their order. Make that a relationship.
Right.
Turn that into something that's going to build revenue, not just be a cost to service them.
So Chris, between your service to the U.S. Marine Corps and the U.S. Army, you work for a small company for a little bit.
Yeah.
What was the name of that company?
I think it was called General Electric.
That's the one. Yeah, it's a little
that one.
So what's your take on all that?
Well, I think it's good, right? So you got to be outward looking with your customers, your clients, but if you're not inward looking, there's a lot of waste, right? So when I was working for General Electric back in 2000, you could always get General Electric books. At that time, Jack Welch was publishing all kinds of books, but when he came into GE, he saw so much waste because post-World War II in the 50s, the 60s, and 70s, the idea of bureaucracy was kind of a good thing because the more people you have, the better, the more successful you're going to be. And the reality was there was a lot of waste there. And then processes-wise, you're just adding more cost upon yourself. So you're not finding those revenue opportunities. But what I like what Michelle's saying is, it's almost a mindset change. You know, you're making that customer a client, a partner actually, vice to being just a customer, a paying customer. They're actually a client, and they want to work with your life. They don't be that one and done. They want to actually be with you. So you're really improving processes internally to be more externally facing, valuable to whoever your customer is.
But then also another shift that's happened, I mean, some of it is even the format of the show. When people are trying to find you, they may be like, you know what, I like that, but I don't know if I'm ready for that. But let me hear more about that. You have a podcast. Now, we'll hang your links on ourdailynewsnetwork.com, so we'll put all the links. Talk a little bit about that podcast, because I'm sure that the podcast and the company are interrelated.
They are.
So what do you talk about on the podcast?
It's a coaching style podcast. So we take it from a very defined, you might want to call it a curriculum or a syllabus, where if you're just starting out, let's go back to the basics. You've got to start with the fundamentals. You can't say, okay, well, this is my big idea, I'm going to throw it out there.
Right.
You've got to have the right foundation. You've got to have the right organization. You've got to have the right structure. And Chris, you mentioned bureaucracy.
Yeah.
You can have the best processes in the world, but if you don't have communication and collaboration,
right,
you're going to have cost centers, not revenue centers.
Amen.
So when you set up that organization, which a lot of that was in season 1 of Go, Go, Grow, how do you set that structure for success? Don't operate in silos. Operate as an interconnected organization. Build your leadership team. Even if you don't have leaders for every one of those functions, the function has to be done.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
And as for the folks that are watching here, in all sincerity, I mean, Chris was operationally, in charge of whether it's service and military, but then this GE business. This, what you're talking about, does not just apply to a GE-sized executive company.
Everybody. Yeah.
It's scalable, right? So people watching this could be like a one-man, a one-person electrical contractor. They could own a small business here in the area. I mean, they can be anywhere in that scale. This is not just applicable for folks that work for Fortune 50 companies, but they're unilaterally applicable and scalable based off of your service providing for whoever they are, meeting them where they're at. Sounds like where you're at. I mean,
absolutely. It's like Michelle said, it's scalable because the function still has to happen. Like I talked to a couple of friends, like, I'm like create my own company. I said, what do you know about HR? They're like, not much. What do you know about finance? Not much. Like, if you're a one-person company, you're doing all that, right?
Yeah.
And then you're a two-person company, who's doing that? So having an expert coaching you and kind of helping you think through that, can make you successful, right? So that's huge.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. Well, we could probably talk. I mean, there's just so much you can unbox in this thing, right? I know we have a couple other interviews out there to kind of focus in maybe on some of the smaller pieces, but as a kind of a general overview, as we take this away, what would you say that one thing that you would tell that business owner that he or she's listening to you right now on this show? What's that one thing that you would say takeaway, besides check out your podcast, of course, which was Go, Go, Grow, right? Just so we make sure. Go, Go, Grow. But what would be that one thing that you would say is a takeaway?
I would say, actually, related things. Find as many free quality resources that you can from true experts, people that have been there and done that. And related to that, get involved with your community. Like you mentioned, I moved here from Atlanta. You would think big cities have tons of resources. One of the reasons I moved to Jacksonville, Northeast Florida, is because this community is ripe with resources as a community.
Right.
The people here, the Jacksonville JSEB offices. What you can do here as an entrepreneur, learning, growing, is phenomenal.
That's awesome.
Since you said the word JSEB, last thing before we take it away, and the producers are going to kick me for going long, but to your point, a little shout out to JSEB. What is JSEB? Greg Grant.
I'll let you speak to that for just a little bit, because I'm going to my first JSEB event tonight.
Yeah, so Jacksonville Small Emerging Business Initiative, actually been around for 20 years. Greg Grant's leading that right now. Has a little bit of help from some ambassadors, so helping tier 1 and tier 3 small businesses. It's a network of folks you can join. 20,000 businesses in Jacksonville. Only about 325 actually belong to it right now. Trying to get more folks to join that network. Is an ecosystem of small businesses that can learn together, can actually work together in many cases. So what does the JSEB provide? A couple pillars: education, access to capital, potential grants. Also with the network, 20% of Jacksonville city contracts are held aside for small businesses to compete against, and then the ability to network with other folks to grow your own business.
And you think about that, how relevancy people, it's 20%. I mean, we have this small building project that just got approved called a stadium.
Yeah.
That, they say it's 1.6, it'll probably be 2.5 before it's done.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's $300 million for small and entrepreneurial businesses right here in Jacksonville, ready to go, and you're one of the folks that's going to be part of that, which is fabulous. And I only say that because Chris and I, as part of what we do in the show, is we love to give that voice and that big bright light to folks. And so that guy that, somebody has to paint the curb yellow, right? Because you can't park in front of the fire hydrant. Somebody has to do that.
Yeah, I don't paint.
Well, you consult on how to paint better, right? Like, no, use this kind of paint because it'll last longer, and it's sparkly. So anyway, but no, having that opportunity, and part of what Chris and I have done collaborating, I mean, from a storied military and executive career, and in the financial services world, what we've done is we've collaborated on the show. We like to have fun because it's fun, but we want to help those folks that look a lot like you have an opportunity that they may not have had before, and it's just really cool that the city's putting some dollars behind that. It's not just something that's a cool initiative and never goes anywhere, and a lot of that is due to Mr. Greg Grant. But thank you for making sure to mention that, because we always want to give a shout out to JSEB when we can, which is super important. So thanks for coming on. As always, man, I can't do it without you. Man, after that flight from yesterday. Another segment, we'll talk about Steve's adventures in the airport. But for now, thank you so much for joining us on the Jacksonville Buzz. If you like us, share us. Remember, live with gratitude.